new people are in. It's the 11th. This is only the second day. Skip over new faces, sir. Not till next week. I was like, nobody's here.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is 11:30, so we'll get started with our pre-commission agenda. Nothing for me for a president's report today. Are there any general housekeeping items or discussion of the agenda from the commission? All right, seeing none, we'll turn it right over to Director Head for the director's report. Oh, actually, Shandy is going to
Surprise.
do a different introduction.
Madam President, Commissioners, I'm just going to start the director's report today. But we actually have a special guest here today with us. It's my pleasure to introduce Jeremy Maxon from the Living Independence Network Corporation, or LINC. LINC is a nonprofit center for independent living serving Southwest Idaho since 1989. Governed by people with disabilities for people with disabilities, LINC empowers seniors and individuals with disabilities to achieve their desired level of independence through advocacy, peer support, skill development, and system change. Headquartered in Boise, they serve 16 counties across both urban and rural Idaho, advancing community inclusion and equal access throughout our region. And with that, I would like to introduce all of you to Mr. Maxon and also invite Sean Kelly, our accessibility and mobility specialist, up here for a special treat.
Thanks, Shandy. Welcome, Jeremy.
Welcome. Okay. Madam Chair, members of the commission, Jeremy Maxon, thanks for having me today. I'm just going to say a couple brief comments, and then I wanted to present the staff and commission of ACHG with a token of gratitude and appreciation. We are celebrating what's called Transit Equity Day across the United States. Actually, last week, February 4th was Transit Equity Day. We had some other stuff going on with the legislature, so we didn't really have the capacity to formally recognize it last week. But in the spirit of Transit Equity Day, we wanted to recognize both Valley Regional Transit and Ada County Highway District for some of the great work that has been done in the last several years to strengthen and expand both access to bus stops using pedestrian right-of-way, which ACHD is responsible for, but also some creative programming that Valley Regional Transit has done with their Beyond Access program. Transit Equity Day is an annual day to recognize December 1st, 1955, which was the day that Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a person who is not a person of color on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. And that sparked off, I think, like a 600+ day kind of strike against the transit system, brought the transit system to its knees. And the Supreme Court eventually ruled that segregation and discrimination in public transit was illegal. And that also sparked a lot of activities in the disability community with some protests in Denver, Colorado in 1979 with folks who were physically unable to get on buses in that community. And that system change to bring equity to transit has been ongoing ever since, and it's a never-ending battle, obviously. The work that ACHD does is really pivotal to that because you need to be able to get to a bus stop to get on a bus. And ACHD has done a really, there's always room for improvement, right? We hear that all the time, and we see that. But the work ACHD has done, Sean and your team around the motion detected audible indicators in construction zones was proactive. It was forward thinking, and you have a lot on your plate. And to take the initiative to jump in that early and figure that out for the state of Idaho, but also the rest of the country. I think there's only one other jurisdiction that was doing that, was just a testament to the value that you place in making sure that the system works for everybody. And so this is just, I mean, I'd love to hand the staff $1 million checks. But we wanted just to recognize ACHD with this kind of award, which is a little wet. I'm sorry, it's raining outside. To just recognize the important work. I think we should do more of that, recognizing work that sometimes is really hard but important and goes, like, no pun intended, but unseen, often. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for being responsive and always, responding to the community in a constructive and positive way to make sure it works for everybody. We still got a lot of work to do. We know that. But it's important to recognize it when people are doing good work. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Jeremy, you're a familiar face to me and to a lot of us, and I've come to think of you as not just someone from the committee, but a very valued asset. I have a habit of anytime someone comes before the commission for the first time with anything that's an employee, I give them a rating. So I'm giving you one today.
Wow. Thank you. Made my day. I appreciate it, you guys. And looking forward to keep doing good work. Yeah.
Commissioner Nelson.
Yeah, I just, thanks, Jeremy, for coming. And I just, the key word is collaboration. And I agree the work never ends, but as long as we are all working toward the same goal, maybe we'll get another award every 2 years, because there is a lot of work to be done. But I really appreciate the recognition of the district's part in this. And I just want to thank you for your collaboration, and obviously VRT as well. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jeremy. Really appreciate the recognition. It's a very meaningful award, and appreciate your work and partnership and collaboration as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, commissioners, we're so grateful for Jeremy. He truly is a good partner for us, not just in his leadership of our ADA advisory committee, but truly the way that he approaches things is very collaborative, and we're grateful for him as an asset in our community. Commissioners, diving right into a few things. We're just gonna skip ahead. I just want to share with you a few things I've been up to. This last week, I had the pleasure of going out with our drainage crew. We're setting it up so each month I go out with a different crew and get to experience what they experience on the ground. Last week, I had the pleasure of helping. It's called potholing is one way for it, or hydro excavation, which is probably a better term for it, because we don't like potholes here. But we were able to, the drainage crew helps our other crews to help excavate in different places as needed. And so I had the pleasure of helping. We uncovered a pipe for one of our utility crews where we had some leakage, and they were addressing that. So it was truly a fun day. We had the pleasure to do that. Then we went out and helped our environmental team and cleaned out a pipe where they were going to have a monitor in the north end. Got to spend about 5 hours out there with them. Got people really dirty. I don't know that they're going to invite me as quickly next time, though. It was a lot of fun. And truly is a great opportunity to see our operators and how seriously they take what they do. But the thing that really struck me is that what they do was so supportive of everyone else here at the Highway District. It's not just one team working to do their work, but they were working to help everyone be successful. Just yesterday, I had the pleasure to be on the Ever Onward podcast, or at least record an episode of that. This is Tommy Alquist and Garrett Lofto, who's the CEO of Simplot. They were the host of it. They are part of it's called Keeping Idaho Moving. It's an effort in connection with the Boise Chamber to focus on the business community coming together to support transportation needs and the vision for transportation in Idaho. We talked about everything from impact fees to the vehicle registration fee and where that's at. We talked about growth and how we're managing growth and how do we prepare for and address and accommodate that. And how we're working together with our partners. I would say look forward to hearing that. I don't know, you're going to listen to me. But it was a really great experience to really have a good partnership with the businesses, to show how we care about what they care about too, that we're all serving those same people and trying to get keep people moving. Our 5-year plan outreach continues. We're having continue to have great results in terms of people's participation. A few hot spots that are starting to trickle out, but that continues for another week, and we look forward to sharing those results as soon as we're done with that. Good news, if you recall, we had an issue last year with some young adults who were skateboarding off a bridge and they kept damaging the railing there. We finally have recovered the railing from the river and we'll be able to reuse that. But grateful for the Boise police or Boise Fire dive team who helped with our maintenance crews to get that out and recover that. And so we care about the public's assets and we want to make sure that we were able to do that. That was a big railing, I'm just saying. Wanted to just recognize one of our crews and the work that we've been able to do. We've shared with you the positive impact that's come as we've been able to work on some other things with the weather being what it has been this last year or this winter. Our Cloverdale grade crew was really proud of just this last week. They were able to shoulder 21.5 miles of roadway. Usually they're out plowing snow and doing other things. This is extremely impactful. It gives some recoverable space. It helps preserve the length of or the asphalt from crumbling away on the edges. It truly has been a positive impact. I've seen a lot of this over in my neck of the woods. I heard from my wife yesterday as she was waiting, and I'm like, thank you for your patience in supporting the crews and what they're doing. But truly grateful for the team and how hard they're working to take advantage of the good weather and moving things forward. Again, just an overview of what's up and coming. Next week, Boise Hunter Homes will be here to talk about the extraordinary impact fees. We already talked about hillside development policy, not called that anymore, but I still have it on here listed that way. We're also going to start talking here about the fee schedule, and ITD will be here this afterwards in a work session to talk about the State Highway 16. And one thing that we just want to note, we have scheduled a summit on the 27th for traffic control companies to come together to talk about these audible detections, as well as the policy update that is in the works that we'll be talking about later today. We also, on the 25th, if you want to stop by, we'll have a bake sale. We're doing another fundraiser, trying to do a little bit more of this as each department taking an opportunity to do things to bring the team together, but also to continue to support the community. And with that, commissioners, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions? All right. Appreciate the report. Well, sorry. Commissioner Nielsen has one. Sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Nielsen.
So there I am. Hey, Ryan, thanks for the update. I just was curious, is everything on track for the implementation of impact fees on March 1st? I know that's always a lot of work to get everything aligned, but I was just curious of how things are going.
Yes, Madam President, Commissioner Nielsen, yes, everything is on track. There's a meeting here tomorrow with all of our partner agencies and all those who would be collecting those fees as well, to make sure that everything's in place, that we can begin implementation on March 1st.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Seeing nothing else, then we will be at ease until noon. All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's now 12 o'clock. I'll go ahead and call a commission meeting to order. Thanks, everybody, for joining us in person and online, and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item is to adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll also just mention really quickly, we have Commissioner Nielsen online with us today. Next up is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. I don't believe we have any requests to move any consent agenda items. So do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that moves us to the regular agenda. We've got one item, which is the West Ivywild Street vacation. This is a public hearing. I will go ahead and open that and welcome Carrie to come up and introduce this one.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Commissioners. For the record, Carrie Niesel, Real Estate Management Specialist for ACHD. This is a public hearing and a decision briefing presentation on the proposed right-of-way vacation of West Ivywild Street. So the proposal is to vacate 0.59 acres of, 0.059 acres of unopened public right-of-way to the applicant for future development purposes. The vacation area is located in the southeast Boise neighborhood, west of Broadway Avenue, and in ACHD Commission District Number 1. Okay, so here's an aerial view of the parcel located west of the intersection of Scarlet and Ivywild Streets. It's directly adjacent to the Reidenbach Canal, and it was dedicated as right-of-way back in 1909 by the Orchard Park Addition plat. Now in your meeting packets, you received a letter of opposition to the vacation. That letter was received from the neighbor who owns the mobile home park just to the south of the right-of-way there, you can see in the photo. So this is a picture of the vacation site looking west. You can see that the right-of-way sits just below South Federal Way. It's a 27-foot wide segment. It's approximately 2,564 square feet. It is zoned R1C in that neighborhood. That's a traditional residential, which is often used for infill type of development. The applicant has currently applied for a 2-lot subdivision with Boise City, stating that it's their intention to remove the garage that you can see there in the photo in order to create that second buildable lot. So again, the segment is 2,564 square feet with an appraised value of $18.72 per square foot for a total value of $48,000. The applicant has paid the $2,500 application fee and completed all the commission and staff requirements for vacating the right-of-way, but it is the commission that determines if it is in the public's interest to vacate or not. So here are your alternatives that you can take at this time. You can accept the proposal, adopt and sign Resolution 2455 authorizing the vacation, or you can deny the applicant's request and not accept the resolution. And with that, this concludes the presentation, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thanks, Carrie. Are there any questions for Carrie?
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney.
Carrie, I don't know if the party who submitted the letter in opposition to it, if they're here, I'd like to hear from them, but if not, could
Yeah.
you? Okay, then I'll be happy to hear that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Carrie? All right, thank you, Carrie. Do we have the applicant present that would like to come up and speak on this? Come up to the podium and then state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name's David Doherty, and I own the property at 2415 South Scarlett, Boise, Ohio. My current address, though, is I'm from Ohio. That's my daughter lives in the existing house at 2415. My address is 2953 Cary Hill Circle, Maslin, Ohio, 44646. So we came out to see you guys today.
Thank you. Okay. You're welcome to share any information with us about the application and.
Sure. So my daughter lives in 2415 Scarlett. She's remodeling that home. We, like Carrie said, we want to take down the garage and to have another nice buildable lot right to the left of it. And I'm a builder developer in Ohio. So we're going to we're hoping to build a new house next to it and for my daughter, basically a very nice home. I don't know what else there really is to say. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them though. But, you know, we have a great reputation in Ohio. We'll do a nice job out here also.
Thanks, David. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney?
I do have questions, but it may be better answered by Carrie, but let me ask you,
Sure.
what's the total size of the existing lot that's adjacent to this vacation area? Do you know that? And maybe
The
that,
total size of 2415's lot.
right.
Um,
That's okay if you don't have those numbers.
I don't have the
understand.
number right here
Okay.
handy. I could get it to you, but
So is your intention then to take the vacation parcel, combine it with the existing parcel, and then subdivide to create two building lots?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yep, but they'll be about the same size of each lot, you know, they'll be, you know, once we subdivide it, won't be one small lot and one big lot. They'll be pretty uniform in the lot sizes, which I think will be nice. And it's not gonna be a narrow lot, it's a wide lot or a decent sized width. I don't have the exact dimension. My eyes aren't, I have some renderings if you'd like to see them. They're not renderings, just some site plans.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
You want to see them?
I can take a look at them afterward. I
That'd be great.
understand, I can understand basically what you're talking about.
Thank
So,
you. Yep.
thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to public comment. Are there any folks present who would like to speak on this item? Please.
Mr. Lopez.
Okay, Mr. Lopez, please come on down to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comments.
My name's Gil Lopez. I'm the management over there at Linden Mobile Home Park, and I'm representing the owners here. They have some questions that they wanted me to ask. So with the park itself, they have control of the easement next to this piece of ground that's trying to be vacated, correct? Right?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
There's the 20-something foot easement between the park and this this piece of ground that's going to try to be vacated. Is that not correct? That
That
belongs-
would be a question for our staff, I think.
Madam President, Commissioners, that is not an easement, that is actually their ownership.
Thank you.
For for JCS, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So they wanted to inquire, so if this is up for vacated, would they have the opportunity to acquire half of that?
Okay, Director can answer that.
Madam President, Commissioners, thank you for being here. The application that is before you is a vacation to the applicant. If the commission so decided that they wanted to consider this request, it would be ultimately a new application. You would need to deny the application today, and then it would be a new application that would need to be submitted. But under the current application, it is a vacation to the individual who has applied.
Great, thanks. Yeah, Mr. Lopez, so if you could share, yeah, your comments and then I think maybe commissioners may have some questions for you, but yeah, if we could just hear your comments about the property or the vacation and
All right,
for us.
because of the location and the end of it, of that easement, that's the park owns, then you have the adjacent, would that create, if they acquired part of that, would they be able to put in for a request to make a lot out of that?
These are not questions that we would have the
No,
answers to.
that's
Oh,
their
I see.
business, not ours.
These are not
Mhm.
questions that we would have answers to. So we have received this application for vacation of this, public right of way, and that's the information that we have, and that's the information that we're considering right now.
Yeah, and I hope you understand, I just have to pass this. They were, and for some reason, I don't know why they didn't understand that or how that didn't get communicated to them. So it seems like that affects their easement or the potential future or what they may want to do in the future, if to make a choice of maybe playing a part of this vacated portion, part of ground. Am I correct?
I'm not sure. Is the time up? Okay, okay. Okay, it sounds like you have some questions that
do,
maybe
yeah.
should have been or are better addressed at a staff level and are not part of necessarily what the commission is considering in this as part of this application. And the time is up for your comments. So I'll ask the commission if they have any questions for Mr. Lopez. Commissioner McKinney?
Madam President, yes, let me just kind of see if we can cut to the chase here.
Yeah.
What is the core of your opposition to this vacation? Why do you think it should not go through?
Well, first and foremost, just because it could affect the future for the park because they do own property right next to it. And if they have an option, how will that affect the park in the future?
Nobody's talking about an option here.
Oh,
This is if the property is vacated and they pay for it, they own it. So do you have a concern with a neighbor owning property immediately adjacent to your park? Is that your concern?
no, the only concern was does the park owner have the option to acquire half of that?
And I think the answer pretty clearly to that is no. If the applicant,
Oh.
if the vacation goes through, the applicant purchases the property, they own it. There's no option involved. So it sounds like it's just a concern that this property isn't available to you. Is that the concern?
And why would that not be? I'm just curious.
Why would it not be?
Yeah, is it because, it's
Because this applicant applied for the vacation and is going to pay for the property.
Madam President,
Commissioner Pickering?
building off of Commissioner McKinney's point, so I think to also clarify too, you could always approach the property owner, assuming that we approve the vacation. You could approach them. That's when you would approach them to see if they would be willing to split some aspects of that property. But for today, we're considering their application with that whole segment there. So we're not at liberty to split hairs or kind of do negotiations from the dais based off of what your request is. That's not really our role, but assuming we support the application, then that's when you could approach the property owner.
No, I appreciate your patience with me.
Oh, no,
I'm
no,
just
I
trying-
appreciate your
Yeah.
questions. This is not this is a complicated process.
It's because I'll get faced with quite a few. So-
Yes.
So they have not the opportunity to follow suit. Is this something that they had missed, or is that what you're saying, that they did not have the opportunity whatsoever to acquire that piece of ground? Is that what you're saying?
The applicant submitted an application to vacate the right of way. And at that time, it's like, that's the request, that's the application. So it's not then open for like opportunity to then negotiate on that. And especially as, as part of that direct application in front of the commission.
See, all right.
Commissioner Goldberg?
The bottom line here is those folks wanted to buy this property.
Sorry.
And they came to us and asked if they could. And we told them what the process is, which we're here concluding probably. And if the owner of your park wanted to buy that property, they should have come to us in the same process, maybe a different time, and asked us to buy the property, and they didn't. So we're here considering one individual's request to buy the property, and only one.
I see.
Commissioner Nielsen?
Yeah, I just wanted to recommend that he maybe contact the city of Boise as the land use application goes through the process. And he can, he may be able to work on if they're concerned about planning for their own property, but that's not within the realm of the highway district.
Yeah, thanks. That's good advice too.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Lopez?
Well, there was possibly the confusion because it was the easement and how that was that not an easement prior or what somebody said?
That
easement?
we heard earlier is that it's not an easement.
Well, wasn't existing easement. Okay, so that's probably where it got confused on their end because it was part next to the easement that they have. And it was not, I guess they didn't, so that's why I'm asking those questions. So it was never part of the easement. It was possibly part of another lot. Is that correct? Or it was just a vacant piece of ground in between the easement and
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they, that's how I have to explain it. They did not realize that probably. So, all right. So, and then because they'd found this was an empty space between, that was available for sale through to the city, correct?
So it's,
No.
it's unopened public right of way that they are asking to be vacated so that they can own that property. And it belongs to the highway
Oh.
district.
Oh, okay.
It's-
And so there was a public right of way. So it was offered to the public. Is that what you're saying?
No, the applicant, as part
Oh.
of their development process that they're going through, had recognized this piece of property as a public right of way and went through the process of approaching the highway district and applying for that vacation, which is what we're considering today. So it's
Oh,
that information is available to anybody who would want it, I guess, who would be looking for it.
okay. All right. So, okay. I just trying to bear with me here. I have to explain this to him. So it was a piece of ground that this city or county had that was for sale, not for sale.
No.
So how, that's what I'm saying. How would they, so in the future, how do they find out that?
Okay, I may direct you to our staff to Carrie behind you, and she can ask these questions or answer these questions that you have offline, just to help you understand what the right of way is in the process for applying to vacate it. So
Very good.
appreciate you coming
No,
and your
thank you for your
questions
time.
and concerns, but Carrie right behind you can answer any additional questions that
Okay,
you have.
thank
Okay,
you.
thanks. Do we have any other members of the public who want to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for consideration.
Madam President?
Commissioner Pickering.
Thanks, Madam President. I would move to approve the West Ivywild Street vacation. I was looking for the resolution. It's not on here.
2455.
Where is it? Resolution 2455. Thank you.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, Madam President.
Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah, I looked at this small property. I think it's I don't see any future use of this right of way as it kind of tees right into the New York Canal and Federal Way. I think what the applicant is proposing is in the public interest to create another residential lot in an area where we need it. So I will be supporting the motion.
Madam President?
Commissioner Pickering.
Without completely copying Commissioner Nelson's points, I want to say thank you for applying for this right of way. I think it's a great use of the space. And I really wish, assuming it all passes amongst the commission here, I wish you the best of luck in building a beautiful home in that area.
All right, any other comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that moves us to discussion items and public communication. Do we have anybody in person or online who wish to address the commission? All right, seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Next up, we have our post-commission agenda, which is our work sessions, and we will host those next door in the commission boardroom. So we'll take a couple of minutes to get situated over there and then be back online.
Madam President? Oh. Or is there going to be a different Zoom link next door?
Just stay on and we'll transfer you.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
We are ready. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're back in the commission boardroom and ready for the post-commission agenda. We're going to get started with work sessions. First up, we've got a work session with ITD, District 3 current and future projects. Welcome, Vince.
Wonderful. I'll actually kick that off if that's all right. My name is Jason Brinkman. I'm the district engineer for District 3, Southwest Idaho, of course. And we really appreciate the opportunity to speak with the commission today. ITD has a lot going on right now in West Data County. And the way that we've done that has kind of changed and morphed a little bit from original plans. It's all generally building the same thing, but the actual details of how we're accomplishing that is a moving target. So, for example, we thought at one point that the Highway 16 extension south of State Street, south of Chinden was going to be implemented in phases. We now know that we've been able to put under contract the entire completion of the freeway segment south of Chinden, and that it'll be ready to open roughly contemporaneously in less than a year. So that's a little bit of a change from what we anticipated, where we'd open it first with signalized intersections. Now it will open with full interchanges as a freeway. We've also been doing things like working on the segment of Highway 16 north of State Street. We've been doing a reevaluation of that document, and we've been making some proposed changes to that corridor based on the development pattern that's taken place over the last couple of decades. And we recognize that all of those things have implications on the system that you manage as well. We've had a wonderful relationship with and cooperation with your staff, Director, Mr. Lucas, and other staff have been absolutely great to work with, and we appreciate that cooperation. But we also wanted to make sure that we were giving the commission an opportunity to ask us any questions or to just fill you in on what we're anticipating that we're bringing forth for the purpose of coordination. Our experience, and we don't build a lot of new freeways like this, but our experience has been that freeways have a very significant influence for the 2 or 3 miles on either side of them. And that's owing to the nature of the access, the fact that it's access at interchanges, and then just the amount of traffic and subsequent development that they attract. And so I think you're already seeing that on the landscape in this area. And we have a lot of projects in common that we're working on that are related to that. So I'll let Vince go into a lot more detail on the various parts and pieces and, you know, what routes we see this affecting. But we just wanted to give you the opportunity to speak with us directly on what we have planned and answer any questions. And then also certainly express our appreciation to you and to your staff for all of the substantial coordination.
Thanks, Jason. Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, before you go into like segments, I was curious, Jason, if you could explain how and why you guys were able to accelerate. So just a little bit more detail on that would be really helpful.
Absolutely. So we've been fortunate to have a really great contracting community response on these projects. That's brought forth some bid savings and also some opportunities to rephase the work. And so we were able to get interchanges incorporated into the work more quickly than we thought. They'd initially been planned serially where we would build the highway first and then come back and retrofit it with interchanges. Because of our strong relationship with these contractors, we've been able to rephase that and do those contemporaneously. So that and a very aggressive schedule for the last contract that we let, which is the south interchange at 1684, is really what's accelerated that side. Vince will go into it. The interchange at Highway 44 and 16 is on a slightly different schedule. That one will lag a little bit. And we haven't necessarily talked a lot publicly about how we contract for this. So there's 4 different contracts that are building Highway 16, but they share contractors in common. And so we've repackaged and reshuffled the deck sort of as we've moved through the contracting on that. And those details aren't necessarily significant to the public, so we haven't publicly messaged the fact that there are 4 different contracts because it just looks like one big project to them. So it's through that contracting and those relationships with contractors who have been able to
and funding, the dynamics of the funding change too with the legislature passed the transportation expansion and congestion mitigation funding as well, which then added some funding to it. We were going to do the phase 2, which was just at grade intersections and then buying right away in the corridor. But then when the funding changed, we were able to then fund, as Jason said, contemporaneously all the intersections, the interchanges.
So you said less than a year. So what's the target date for
We've been saying 27. There is a good chance it will be open by this time a year from now. So,
okay. So February 27th.
We should be wrapped up by February 27th.
Okay.
We'll take every opportunity to beat that, but there's still a lot of pieces that have to come together. Signs and, finishing pavement plugs and even a few bridges. So we don't want to be overly optimistic on that, but all indications are that we could even beat that.
Commissioner McKinney.
I have a question on the, if we look at that I-84 and Highway 16 interchange, does the ultimate plan that we're building instead of the interim plan, does it make that T intersection now superfluous, or is that still part of the plan?
That is still part of the plan, and your observations there are very astute. We have something somewhat unique at 16 and 84. The freeway to freeway interchange we call a system interchange, and one of the features of a system interchange is that all of the ramps for the movement from I-84 to 16 and vice versa will be at the prevailing speed of both highways at 65 miles per hour, and that's what the big flyover ramps, the largest radius ramps, are for. The T, if you will, that's underneath is part of a service interchange, which is much more like every other interchange that you see along I-84, where at the top of the ramps, you'll come to a signal, you'll stop. And that particular T is to give access to Franklin, which would otherwise be too close to the system interchange. And so they're sort of co-located one atop the other so that you can both access Franklin and access 16 North from I-84. What that means in practical terms, what the driver will see is there'll be two off ramps in each direction, where the first off ramp going east or west will take you to 16 North. And the second off ramp will take you to the Franklin interchange. And there'll of course be big overhead signs and things directing people that way. So there'll be an exit 40, A and B in each direction. A's go to 16 and B's go to Franklin. And then similarly, there'll be on ramps from 16 and Franklin. Those merge together before they merge up to I-84. So that's the somewhat peculiar nature here. Is that
Yeah, so it took 3 additional bridges though to make that work, it appears.
It
So,
did,
okay.
that's correct. And that's been a long-standing planning topic of, Franklin being a corridor that we couldn't see not giving access to, and not wanting to give that kind of access to Cherry. The 2 mile spacing started with Franklin and then Ustick and Chinden.
Makes sense. I live just off of Franklin Black Cat, kind of like two-edged sword.
Yes, indeed.
There we go. Well, thanks for letting us have an opportunity to speak here today. And really what I'm going to talk about is kind of what's under construction. Jason already kind of augured into that a little bit. What's next in terms of some funded projects that we have, some on State Highway 44 as well as State Highway 16.
Yeah.
And then
Sorry, can I ask you to hold on just 1 second? It sounds like Commissioner Nielsen has a question online.
yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Jason and Vince, thanks for coming and giving the update. I had talked to Justin, probably a month or 2 ago about kind of a post-project tracking of how the new highway will affect traffic counts on adjacent roadways. Has that been, from ITD's perspective, is that kind of a formal action that you plan on doing, maybe 3 months, just so we can see what the impact is to the ACHD roadways?
That's a great question. I don't know that we've pinned down a set time frame, but that's certainly going to be an ongoing activity.
Yeah.
And we think that, it's likely going to be a few years in total for the full break-in of the new traffic pattern out here, but there'll be some immediate change, certainly.
Yeah. I've just found if you don't plan for it, it doesn't happen, because things get so busy with all the other projects, but.
No, that's a great point, and I do appreciate you bringing that up. We are planning permanent counters as part of our construction on 16 proper.
Okay.
And so 16 will have continuous counters that give us very good data at multiple points. We have those on other highway networks, I-84, 55 as well. And then we augment those with tube counts or other observations that, we or you make. And all of that is coordinated through Compass's modeling effort as well. So we'll make sure that we're coordinating to get to opening day on the monitoring and observation and updating of all of those numbers.
Yeah.
That'll affect both, present day traffic volumes as well as our projections ultimately.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, no problem. Should remind me, what's our time? Whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we won't take a week, okay? Well, so as I was talking about, you know, what's under construction, what's next in terms of projects that ITD has funded in and around this corridor, and then what's in our future plans, and then we want to connect it back a little bit to the impact on the local roads and just kind of take that higher level look at that as well. And what we're going to look at today, if we just go back a slide, is in context from Star Road all the way over to Linder, and then north to Villanova, and of course, the bottom of your picture there, Interstate 84. So 4 projects on what's happening right now on State Highway 16, and that's what we'll talk about. 5 interchanges and 5 miles of 4-lane divided highway. Jason talked a lot about the system. The system interchange freeway to freeway allows you to stay at 65 miles an hour and go to and from both the interstate and State Highway 16. The Franklin Road interchange is the first interchange that you'll come to, and you'll have to use the service interchange, as Jason described already, to get to it at grade. Otherwise, you'll just fly over it one way or the other. And that is going to be a SPUI, or a single point urban interchange, and that'll be an under SPUI. You've all probably seen the SPUIs we have in Meridian Road or 10 Mile. And then we do have an under SPUI in Nampa at underneath the north side interchange there as well. So if you're wondering, you know, what one looks like, you drive through north side, this will be pretty similar to that. After the Franklin Road interchange, you'll actually, we'll go over Cherry Lane, and then the Usick Road interchange, which is more of just the traditional diamond interchange. All of these projects are moving along really well right now. Back to the system interchange, just a couple of thoughts. I mean, the piers that you see out there right now in and amongst the freeway, some of them, you know, we drilled shafts 80 to 90 feet to connect those into the earth. And the pier caps are on all of them now, and we're putting the girders over the top. So it's going to be pretty neat here over the next 2 or 3 months as people drive by and see this really start to erect itself. Some of what you see there, the embankments in that first picture, we were trucking as much as 120 trucks a day of earth out there to build those types of embankments. So a lot's been going on. I left off at Ustick. It's a tight diamond interchange. After that, we will go over McMillan. I'll be an overpass over McMillan. And then the next interchange is the US 2026 or Chinden Avenue interchange. And that will be what they call partial cloverleaf. And to access that, you'll be heading eastbound towards Boise, and then you'll take a free running ride, essentially, go through the loop, and then get on State Highway 16 headed north. So, and that's important to note that, you know, that's a nice feature. It eliminates a phase in our signal, you know, speeds up people through the intersection. And that really happened because when we did the next portion of this corridor to the north, or when we built the roadway from this point, 2026 to State Highway 44, we bought all of the land around this and secured that right away for the future, knowing that we would need this at some point. We did the same thing at the State Highway 44 interchange, which also, and I jump to that now, that also, it will be a parclo or a partial cloverleaf, as it's probably more commonly referred to. And that cloverleaf will be in the northwest corner where the Greylock, right out in front of the Greylock Furniture Company. And that will free flow westbound to southbound. So you'll be heading towards Star. And then if you want to go back into 2026, you'll take that cloverleaf there. This has been a challenge because Jason mentioned this too, but much of the rest of the construction we've done and we've been doing has been what they call greenfield work. It's new construction. We're working in farm fields for the most part and working around existing roads, which makes it a lot easier to construct. But this has been a challenge. This pretty big, very busy intersection. We've had to shift traffic a couple times. I know we've been working with your teams as well, and we appreciate, and we'll talk a little bit more about the partnership that we've really built over this project. But, you know, it's been a challenge. But we've worked through it. We've had great participation from the city of Star and their law enforcement. We've had to shift traffic and our goal, and we've even shifted our plans and changed our own plans because our goal is to really maintain 2 lanes in each direction through the duration to keep traffic moving through Star and not bog down there. It's been a challenge at times, but our team's done a really good job at adjusting and working with the locals to make that happen. So this would bring an end to the freeway. And for now, but we have plans to continue to move this freeway forward. It's 7 miles from the interstate, State Highway 44, but we don't, you know, want to just leave it an abrupt ending. We have elongated the on-ramps for westbound traffic getting on to northbound 16 with the State Highway 44 interchange project, but that's just a temporary solution to try to cut down on the weaving as people are on the freeway or you know, people are merging onto the freeway into the traffic that's already there on State Highway 16. So the goal is to widen, and we have a widening project that just started about 2 months ago. We will add an overpass as a part of the project over Floating Feather, and we will continue the widening 4 lanes with a divided median all the way to Beacon Light. That project, from a construction standpoint, is funded and slated to begin in 28. So we're hoping to have the design wrapped up somewhere around the end of 27 and then get into construction in 28 and take 2 years to build both the overpass and the widening. We are not touching Beacon Light at this point. We're going to leave it the way it is. The Valnova development is one of their mitigations or conditions of development is just wrapping up the project right now to actually on widening or adding capacity to the Beacon Light intersection. So they're widening the main line to 2 lines in each direction. And this project will just go ahead and match into that widening. And so State Highway 16 will then be a full freeway from the interstate all the way to Beacon Light. And yet there's more. We are also working right now with ACHD, the City of Emmett, the City of Star, Eagle, all of our stakeholders on the reevaluation of the State Highway 16 environmental assessment that we had approved in 2005, and we're updating it. We did not, you know, expect back then a State Highway 16 to come like it is now. So we had to update the plans to really accommodate a freeway and then start to make changes in this corridor. There are 16 miles from State Highway 44 to the junction of State Highway 52 in Emmett. And what we've done in this reevaluation is we've bifurcated that into 6 segments. 44 to Beacon Light, which we've already talked about, and then Beacon Light to the Valnova interchange. If you don't know, the development is moving fast on the mitigations that they have through all of us. You know that they've built a lot of road out there. They've built about $150 million worth of improvements to this point, and they are planning to make another big improvement here in the next year. In about 3 weeks, they're going to break ground on the bridge over State Highway 16 at what they're calling Valnova Way now, not RE Way anymore. They have officially changed the name to Valnova Way. And so that's kind of the big highlight in this segment number 2. We would eventually come back and add to that with widening from Beacon Light to Valnova Way. I believe it's Way or Drive. I'm not sure. I couldn't officially find it online, so I'm apologize if I got that wrong. And then, you know, we'll do the widening in between. The next segment is from Valnova to Chaparral, which is kind of up here, by the Firebird Raceway. And then you go up to up the hill, and that goes all the way to what they call Jag Gulch, or pardon my French here, but it's officially called Jackass Gulch. That's where the landfill is. That's the road that takes you to the landfill in Gem County. And then the fifth segment is down the hill. Basically, it's Freeze Out Hill and the final to Substation Road. And then from Substation Road, the sixth segment goes to the junction at State Highway 52. And I just want to highlight the top three priorities off that list. We took those 6 segments and we prioritized them. The first one is the one we're already started, State Highway 44 to Beacon Light. Talked about that. Talked about the second segment, which is Beacon Light to Valnova. And the one thing I left off the table is that when we do that second segment, not only will we widen, but we will add an interchange at Beacon Light, which will then continue the freeway 2 more miles north to Valnova. And at that point, you'll have 11 miles of freeway. And the third segment is near and dear and a very important safety improvement for the citizens in Gem County. We know we need to jump over and start to work on some of the issues in Gem County. And that is widening of the Freeze Out Hill. And we all know of there's been several fatalities in and around that area. And that's something, and when we went out and did, I think we did 4 different meetings already for this reevaluation. Every time that is of the utmost concern to the citizens in Emmett and the Gem County area and the people that travel that corridor on a daily basis. And that will take a lot of, we'll literally and figuratively have to move some earth, quite a bit of earth to make that happen. And so we would say that in our minds, both the priority number 2, Beacon to Valnova, and the JAG substation, our third priority, are really, if we could work on those a little bit concurrently, we would like to do that as well. Those 2 are not funded. They are a part of the plan, but they are not funded yet. So that's something that the department will have to work on going forward. Did you want to do something else?
So on the lines of funding, obviously there's a lot of heat around the legislative budget and how it impacts ITD's budget. How are you guys maneuvering? How do these projects in particular, how are they impacted by some of those budget cuts?
That's a great question. So ITD has really been using funding in about 4 buckets of late. We have, and almost all of our funding is shared with local transportation entities as well, cities, counties, highway districts, through the formula that the board administers. But ITD's operations and staff and capital equipment all falls under our state dedicated fund. So the fuel taxes and registration fees that we all pay. ITD builds most of its asset management projects like pavement restorations, preservations, bridge replacements with federal aid funding that comes back to us from the federal trust fund. And then, for the last about 15 years, the legislature has been giving us funding to pay debt service on bonds. So they basically offered to, pay our mortgage on some large capital improvement projects. And we've used that for things like the widening of I-84 and the construction of Highway 16, first using federal Garvey bonds, and then more recently with state TECM bonds, they're called. So the legislative direction with those is, go bond and pay those off over 18 or 25-year period. Always on long-serving expansion type projects, 50 to 100-year, improvements like widening or new interchanges, new bridges. More recently, and the most dynamic portion of our funding, there's been things like surplus eliminators and other revenue sharing when the state legislature had excess funding. In recent years, they had dedicated a portion of the general fund to transportation. That number had been 300 million. Last year, it reduced to 275 million. And with that was instructions to split that 60-40 state and local. That is not been entirely transferred yet for the current fiscal year that we're in. And ITD is anticipating that the legislature will keep about 45 million of that plus interest to handle the current year shortcoming in the budget in the general fund. And then we've been told not to necessarily anticipate that at all for next year. It was not in the governor's budget recommendation, any of the 275 million. That's the subject of much discussion. There's not many a legislature that looks forward to cutting transportation, particularly not for the more than 280 local transportation agencies. So ITD, for our sake and through our board, you know, they've said we stand ready to bring forward these kind of expansion and widening projects when funding and legislative policy allows. If that isn't this year, we still have a number of things like these 16 improvements that we're making ready, and we'll be able to respond when we can. How exactly that affects a particular project is a little more difficult to say, and the board is not yet weighed in. That'll probably happen in the April to June timeframe. But the board is applying those funds that they're getting out of strategic initiatives, that general fund transfer, and the bond proceeds that come from off the top sales tax revenue in about an 80-20 split. So every bond funded project that they're putting out is about 80% funded with bonds and about 20% funded with pay as you go from that general fund transfer. And that's important for some of the requirements on bonds, like the initial payout and the drawdown schedules and things that are associated with it. There's a lot of rules around bond funding. And so the board's going to have some difficult decisions to make here later this spring, depending on what the legislature does on whether to move forward with a smaller set of projects, pay as you go, or whether to sell bonds from bond authority that they've already gotten, even if the pay as you go portion is reduced, or just how to configure that moving forward. So in the near term, that does affect at least 3 projects in the area that we know of. There's a project on Highway 2026 west of Star Road in Canyon County that was anticipated to be bonded and left for construction this year for about 5 miles of widening for the last unwidened piece of Chinden. There's a piece in Star, about a mile in Star between 16 and Star Road that we were going to widen and improve starting this year that is uncertain as to timing. And there's the right of way and ultimately the construction that we'd scheduled on this next piece of 16 for 44 to Beacon Light that could be impacted timing wise. So we think all of those projects will ultimately move forward one way or the other. But there might be some timing implications where, you know, maybe we won't sell bonds in the spring, maybe we sell them in the fall, or maybe it's the following year. And so that could affect certain construction start dates. And unfortunately, we just don't know enough yet to forecast those. So wrapping back to, I guess, what Vince was saying, I mean, this corridor north of State Street, north of 44 to Emmett, this does represent a change in the character of that corridor. Mm-hmm. What was proposed in 2005 was a 4-lane road with some access and frontage roads, frankly. Most of the frontage roads are gone, replaced by collectors and backage roads and other local access.
Subdivisions.
And the roadway itself is being upgraded, at least for the first portion, to a freeway. And so there's a lot of things that we're doing through your development services and through coordination with your staff that, you know, affect things like the master street map and, you know, future plans and things for how we connect the New Eagle Sports Park, or how we get to Deep Canyon Drive, or some of the stuff in Northeast Star that needs to stay connected and things. So there'll be some things moving around that's related to that upgrade in that corridor.
Are these potential glitches in funding, could they affect something like the Eckert Bridge?
Well, that's even more difficult for me to say because I don't know, exactly what funding ACHD might set aside for that. So I think that'd probably be better answered by your director.
Yeah, Madam President, Commissioner, we don't We don't believe so. Those funds have already been allocated towards that project.
Came from you guys.
Yeah, I think that means they're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the bridge money is coming from ITD and the connecting roadways is
It's
a part of it.
It's through LTAC,
Yeah,
though, so it's administered through the local highway technical assistance council, which the funding for that specific program has already been allocated.
So that comes through ITD.
Yeah.
Part of their little people.
And I think we're fortunate, I mean, no one is talking about rescissions of previously appropriated or obligated funds, with the exception of that little bit in the current fiscal year that went to the state highway fund.
You're not going through Star anytime soon, are you?
What?
Well, I get through whatever, at least once a week, but
So we've talked, about, our construction plans, what we're doing right now, where we're at in construction. We've talked about our, the future projects we have in line, and then we've talked kind of about where we want to go long-term, but we did want to kind of connect all this expansion and what it means for local roads. So just gonna kind of quickly go through this. I mean, you could see as we kind of clear the slate on the corridor and pop up the alignment again. You can see all the new access points, and we talked about it a little bit, but we are all going to be very curious to see how this changes the flow of traffic in Valley. And as Commissioner Nielsen asked, what the impacts are, and studying these impacts, and it may change future projects and things we may or may not do based on, how traffic reacts to all these new access points and a 7-mile freeway that's brand new in the middle of a thriving and growing, urban area. Again, now we lay the roads into it. These are all your roads, but these are all now new touch points, along with 4 communities. This highway touches Nampa, it touches Meridian, it touches Star, it touches Eagle. And will change the way traffic goes in and out of those communities.
Commissioner Nelson?
Yeah, thank you. In addition to just the traffic impacts, this might be a good analysis in the future by Compass, because I believe they had a tool that looked at the economic impact of projects. And it would be nice, I mean, this is a tremendous public investment on both Highway 16 and on the local roads. And it would be nice to have that analyzed to see what value the taxpayers got. And that may help with funding requests in the future. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. I forget what that tool was called that Compass had that was able to kind of model those economic impacts, as well as obviously the transportation benefit. Things like reduction in delay for people, things that meaningful metrics to current residents and taxpayers. What did we get for all this money? And so I'm just kind of laying that seed, Ryan or Justin, if those of us who are Compass members, as we look to the next 5-year integrated work plan, that it might be a nice project here to look at.
I mean, you might be talking about a potential member service request to do some sort of an economic analysis here. I think is that what you're asking about, Commissioner?
Yeah, or it could be just beyond just a request, a new activity in the work program that maybe there would be a grant for or something. But I think this is a rare opportunity to look at the impact of this new section on Ada County and Gem County, for that matter, and Canyon County. What were the direct or spinoff economic benefits of this investment?
And it's good. Yeah, their 5-year work plan. Yeah, okay. Duly noted.
Thanks.
So now we're gonna pull it back and just kind of quickly, I'm gonna pop through this one pretty quick. We've kind of discussed this, but as we go through it, you'll see, of course, we know the blue is all the work that we're doing, but we're gonna start to populate all the work that your team's doing and the city of Nampa is doing. and takes an opportunity here to really highlight the substantial amount of time all of our teams are spending on making all this happen. And, you know, I think it's important to note as you look at all the projects that are happening, there's also obviously some spaces that we all probably would like to fill in there. And then those are conversations I know you guys want to have. But, you know, big thanks to, you know, our teams, you know, our construction team, Shauna King and her team, and Ricardo Calderon, and you know, your Rachel and Aaron and everybody that's been meeting on a monthly basis, because what we're doing here is we're doing a lot of work at one time on a highway and on the local roads. And you know, there was a couple years ago through Compass, there was some concern about how we're working together. While there's obviously challenges that we're all facing, we took this as an opportunity to meet those challenges and get better. And I'm looking at Director Head, and Justin, and some others in this room. We remember that. And I think we've all really done a great job at taking that challenge headlong and making sure that we do our best to communicate all this to the public. Certainly in Star and some other places that are significantly impacted by all this construction, it's not been easy, but it's certainly I think we have done our best, and people would echo that. I think our citizens, you know, understand that, and they also know the benefits of what's about to happen when suddenly, I know construction never fully goes away, but when this mass construction we have right now goes away. And there are two projects too that I do want to note here. They're up at the top along State Highway 44, and those projects are also in the ITD program. And the one right there at the 44 symbol is finishing the widening of State Highway 44 from 16 through Star to essentially Star Road. The city of Star spent some of their own money that they had collected and put it towards widening from Star Road to Canada. And this would essentially fill that gap. They did some restriping of the road that continued the 4 lanes to about City Hall. So this would essentially be from the end of the State Highway Interchange project, State Highway 44 interchange project, to about the City Hall and Star, and would widen it to a 4-lane section and improve the pathway system as well through the City of Star. And then the far right, you see the blue box just to the right of the State Highway 44 interchange. That's the Palmer Road intersection. And ACHD has been a part of a collaborative effort as well there, along with Eagle and Star, to get that going. We have it partially programmed in our program right now. And we've got some developer contributions as well. And we plan to, one of the things that we contributed as well was the design. And we should have that done here in the next 2 to 3 months. If you live in that area, if you live to the north and to the east of that intersection, and even out to the north and the west, it's really difficult to get on the highway. Commissioner Grove, Madam President, you've been to a lot of the meetings. We've been to meetings together in the Star area, and people are clamoring for this. So we're working hard to push that design through. And then we're hoping to start construction this summer if possible. So our team's been doing a great job there, but in concert, HCHD is a part of the design team as well. So we're working on that together.
Something that we do on all of our construction projects on highways, as part of our weekly coordination with the contractor, we have a maintenance of traffic agenda item, an MOT item. And what we recognize on these really big corridor projects like this is that maintenance of traffic also requires knowledge of impacts on the local system. We have quite a bit of warning and great coordination on other agency projects. The highway district, most notably, less predictability on permits and utilities and emergencies that have to go with development or with utility adjustments and things. So the practice that we've adopted of late is we're mapping all agencies' projects and sharing those at the weekly meeting and as part of our updates on our stakeholder databases and things, just so that people can understand the nature of the system in general, what's under construction, what's open. And we really appreciate your staff helping us to do that, because that's a hard thing to put together otherwise. You know, just what all is happening on every road in the area, so. I think that's made a difference.
So we're done with the presentation portion. I would like to just throw out that we do have a public quarterly meeting on State Highway 16 tonight from 4:30 to 16 at Gen Prep right off the McDermott bypass there. And that's really a big part of this whole jurisdiction. When we talked about everybody working together, and RBCI puts those on as, you know, for us as a contractor to us. And they've done a great job along with everybody else in coordinating all this communication. So what else? What other questions would you like to ask?
Commissioner Pickering.
Going back to the segment north of Beacon Light and kind of and I appreciate the call out, like how this plan and project is going to be quite different than what y'all have previously planned. When did you guys make that decision to change that, and like how public has that been? But I'm glad you mentioned it because that's new. It's very new information to
Are you
me.
just talking about the reevaluation of this
Yes.
corridor?
Yeah.
So we started that reevaluation about 2 years ago.
2022, actually, right after I started.
We've had a series of public meetings on that as we have evolved that. And we struggle with getting, you know, people noticed on 16 meetings just because there's a lot of 16 projects, but we've had good participation from the cities, from some HHD staff and county and a lot of local residents as well. There's high interest in that corridor. And so we think the word's getting out. We've certainly tried to make that clear through our exhibits and public communications, but there hasn't been a lot of media coverage of it necessarily or things. So I don't know how much awareness there is in the broader community, but.
Yeah, we've had 4 sets of meetings. We've also, before each set of meetings that we have, we've reached out to a group of stakeholders, all the cities, including ACHD, to have basically like a project development team meeting and run our thoughts and our plans and everything that we're going to show to the public by that team first and get their input. And then we go to the public. Some of our meetings, well, certainly it's drawn a lot of interest in Gem County because let's face it, this is going to pour a lot of potential growth into a very beautiful area of the state. And so they're very interested there. We've had meetings with almost 400 people at Emmett High School, and we've had, you know, 150 to 200 as the attendance. We've held our meetings at the Eagle Christian Church. So we've had pretty good attendance, and we feel like people know about it. Certainly the people in this corridor that live off it, around River Birch Golf Course and some of the new developments have come to our meetings. So we feel like we've reached certainly the folks that are most impacted and affected. And we can do more. If there's suggestions on more we can do, we'd be willing to do it. We're close to wrapping it up and submitting it back to FHWA.
Well, I don't think that's not my point in asking the question. It's more, because I mean, this isn't my district. So I think that also is an element of me not being as intimately familiar with all the different processes and the different meetings that you've been having. But I think coming from my standpoint, because the expansion of Highway 16, that definitely connects to my district in huge ways with USTIC and all sorts of stuff. But more of like how the expansion of Highway 16 and the project as a whole, with the acceleration that you guys are talking about, that's going to have some real impacts that we haven't had a chance to talk about. So I'm just kind of naming that. So that's a big thing. And then how you're also then reconsidering and reevaluated this other piece of that puzzle, which I think takes it kind of to a whole other threshold, which I think, I'm not saying it's not warranted, but I think that just is more for us to be kind of sort through about how that really does impact our network even more than we were even considering when we first started and planned out all of our projects. So I'm just kind of naming that, and that was my point behind it.
Fair.
No, and great point. And that was one of the reasons why what staff suggested maybe we meet with the commission today. We wanted to make sure that we were being clear on what it is that's being constructed and how fast it is going, because we think that has represented a change that everyone might have been aware of. So.
Commissioner McKinney.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. The first one I think is more a question for our director. I'm wondering if you can kind of review for us where we stand on the scheduling standpoint with respect to our projects that connect into Highway 16, Ustick, Franklin, and so on, especially with their indication that they may be done by this time next year. Where do we stand? How close are we going to come to having our stuff ready by that time? What's that look like?
Sure. Vince, do you mind going to the slide where you show the years and dates for the local project? Yeah, so Commissioner, we should be, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we should generally be in a good place for the sections of Ustick up to Black Cat. There is that Black Cat section between McDermott, or the Ustick section between McDermott and Black Cat. That section may lag a little bit from the opening.
A little bit, about how much are we talking?
Well, we're showing
year, 6 months
into 2028 for construction of that, and so yeah, you may be
a couple of years, sounds like.
well, if they open in next year, I guess that's 2020. So yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
And then the Franklin section would also be along that same time frame. So the Franklin section was delayed in the process in terms of when that was going to move forward as we sought the funding to actually do that section. So, but now that that's in place, those two sections are the kind of those final two sections. You know, it's not going to be perfect. I'll say that, but we're at least, I will tell you, the team has worked. Those projects along Ustick have happened faster than probably any projects I've ever seen us do. They've gone very quickly to try and make sure those connections we're getting there as quickly as we can.
Okay. Then I guess question number two, and this is shifting gears, and I don't know, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to blindside you or anything. I'm just wondering also, but while we're talking about ITD issues in Ada County, what, if anything, is going forward or being in the planning process for additional construction on Eagle Road? Is anything happening there? Is anything in the works planning wise?
We don't have anything in our current 7-year ITIP program, but we have identified Eagle Road as a corridor that is in, call it our 8 to 20 year horizon for additional work. We currently have 3 lanes in each direction from I-84 to just south of Ustick. We believe that we probably need to get to 3 lanes in each direction from Ustick to Chinden. And then I think the next thing after that will be probably to go back and look at the intersections for if there are higher capacity intersection types that can be in there. The intersection type selection is probably the trickiest part. The district has built some through use, like at Coal Victory or Veterans and State. Those seem to work pretty well. There's concepts of displaced lefts. We're not particularly comfortable with those types of intersections on the highway. In fact, we have some standards or guidance now that would suggest against doing alternative configurations that might not be as familiar to the public.
Like continuous flow intersections, things like that.
Correct. We have at least identified concepts of things that would use partial grade separations where you would perhaps elevate left turns in the center or things that haven't really been explored to the detail they need to be yet. So I think you'll see us focus some planning effort at kind of a conceptual level at Eagle Road of what could we do that would make a difference. Eagle Road itself has a lot of demand, but that's really confounded by the amount of traffic trying to cross Eagle Road east and west. And that's a pain point for all of us because while those aren't all our facilities, we all try to do that at some point in our lives. And, you know, that's really a matter of just the total volume of traffic trying to occupy an intersection, both east, west, and north, south. And so some manner of higher capacity intersection is ultimately probably the solution there. And we don't know its name just yet, but it is a priority for us to study here in the midterm.
Right, so nothing right away.
Nothing immediate. We are also having a lot of discussions with our board and executives and then Compass on some longer range planning that's in the 20 or 20+ year horizon. And that's really throughout the valley and talking about, the nature of our networks broadly. So, we've experienced a lot of growth and we're projected to continue to experience a lot of growth. The state highway system really has not grown in that time frame. And so, we've been asked by legislators and board members, is there a need to start looking at or planning for future highways? Should there be beltways in the future? Should 16 extend to the south? Should Meridian Road, Highway 69 cross the railroad or Indian Creek, things of that nature?
And that's still just kind of conceptual, right?
They are. We have funded a study looking at what we call the Southern Ada and Canyon County connectivity. And so we're working with the travel demand model that Compass maintains and various cities and counties on land use planning and things. Looking at if we made connections in that area, what kind of traffic they would attract. And there's a lot of implications of that. It's a little bit of an iterative process whereby we connect some lines on the map, we run the model, we see how much traffic it attracts. We decide, how or if land use might respond to that. Then we run another iteration of that. Ultimately, that'll lead to conclusions like, whether there are candidate state highways in that area, what projects or what priority we ought to be looking at, and just how we might respond to growth in the future. But ITD can't do that alone. Transportation can't even do that alone. That affects things like sewer and water and power and land use decisions and policies on urban limits and things like that. So we're very early in that process. That's a long-term 20-25+ year initiative. And then, sounds like a really long time, but we've been 20 years implementing this extension of Highway 16 that we've been talking about. We started that environmental process in 2007. And so it's kind of on that horizon that we're starting to look at, well, how do the next 500,000 people in the valley get around? And so that's part of our priorities as well.
Commissioner Nielsen.
Oh, thanks. I guess one communication piece that might be helpful, and this is back to Highway 16, is kind of being able to communicate to the public how the whole corridor will be developed over time. We have the little boxes here, but something that would, so I think there's a expectation that if not all the projects are done at the same time, that's a negative. But I think just to show we want to get these major movements done, and then we'll work on these additional projects over, the respective years. I'm trying to assimilate a lot of dates here on these boxes, but it might be nice to be able to communicate how the whole corridor is going to unfold over time and kind of manage the expectations that there's still work to do after the main highways open. So I just want to put that out there. I haven't seen that yet, but I get I hear people saying, well, it's somehow a failure of ACHD if we don't have this road wide. It's just a fiscal reality, but I think communicating that effectively to the public, I think would be really helpful to tell the story of something this major, that expectation really isn't realistic. This is going to unfold over, 5 years still. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. And then to follow up on Jason's comment, when they looked at the South Arterial 20+ years ago, one of the first pieces of analysis was to put that link in the network and see what travel, would use that link. Has that analysis been done yet in terms of what traffic would use that facility if it was in place today?
That's analysis that we're working on right now. And we're just getting the first draft numbers on that. So that'll be coming out here in the coming months of what the
Okay.
updated modeling would show for that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and Commissioner Nielsen, we'd be happy to work with staff as well on some joint messaging on that. I hope you know ITD is very much impressed with the speed and the coordination which you've adjusted the local system in the area of 16, and we're certainly having this message out to the public. I think it probably bears consideration as well, as there are a lot of development applications in this area and they build on their own time frame. So depending on, you know, where someone is interested to in that last mile, you know, we're mostly talking today about arterials and collectors, but there'll be lots of local road construction and utilities that are responding in this area for years yet. So.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize your last point about the, like, evaluating additional freeway configurations, this beltway conversation, because I think you're right, like, you guys would be leading that, you would be doing those analysis, but that doesn't paint the full picture, right? Like the impact that has, whether that's actually realistic, given the other constraints we all have as people, right? We care about emergency services, you know what I mean? All of these key things that are outside of the usual scope of work that you guys can evaluate. So I just appreciate your recognition of that doesn't paint the full picture. And of course, working with us to make sure that we can accurately demonstrate and show what the cost and impact would be for something like that on our system.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you bringing that forth, Commissioner Pickering. We, you know, our director has recently said, and the district certainly believes that as we move forward, we're going to have to be even more collaborative than we've been in all things planning. We have separate studies going on as well, looking at I-84. Those are really interesting because we have some point congestion issues around the Y, around interchanges in Meridian. And we've heard from, you know, people like the city of Meridian that they have concern about adjoining intersections like, you know, Overland Meridian or Eagle Overland. And those can't be solved in isolation. If we were to magically improve the intersection of Eagle Overland or Meridian Overland, it would have a detrimental effect on the I-84. If we magically increase capacity of I-84 and didn't address those intersections, we'd have a problem. And so we're doing in that corridor some, it's called micro simulation, but it's really macro modeling of all of the intersections and how they work together. So we'll have much better insight too into how we ease merges and model congestion in that. Our goal with that on the I-84 corridor, we're not looking to significantly increase the capacity of the corridor. It's pretty close to built out, but we want to smooth some of the pain points. So we don't want it to be 70 miles per hour and then 20 and then 70 and then 20. We'd like it to be 50 the whole way during rush hour.
You better tell some of the folks from Canyon County that like to drive like this then.
Well, the behavior is a significant portion of that, absolutely, as is enforcement. But yeah, so we're doing work on that. We're seeing a lot of pressure out in the Micron area, not just from Micron's expansion, but all of the spin-off development that is even now into Elmore County. So there's 19,000 home units planned just over the border at Mayfield in the next 40 years.
There'll be more.
And that's just the start of it. So we're trying to keep tabs on all of that and increase actually our coordination with you and all of our partners on the planning and coordination of this. So we definitely really appreciate today's opportunity to start that conversation.
But you're getting your budget cut and everybody's getting property tax refunds. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of budgets. We're trying to play the long game here. And we know there's a lot of interest in ongoing investment over the long haul in transportation.
All right, well, thank you so much, Jason and Vince, both for being here and giving us this update. I appreciate you capturing kind of the ongoing projects that other agencies are working on as well, and emphasizing, recognizing and being sensitive to the impacts that these big corridor changes have on the local network as well. Obviously, we're all working with budget constraints and these will have impact over time. And so continued, as you said, partnership, communication, planning, coordination, all of that is going to be really important as we move forward. But we really appreciate coming and giving the update today.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice talking with you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We know Vince isn't just another pretty face.
Well, he wears multiple hats.
But
he's pretty.
Face for radio.
All right, so that moves us to our second work session, which is ACHG policy feedback, and Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. Short presentation today, open more for conversation. This is a follow-up to our presentation last month on kind of this omnibus policy update, which affects all of our policies with the exception of our development policy, which is those updates are still in the works. And really the goal of this is to just align with our current practice. This is what you would call but if you use the modern term of doging, we are looking through our own policies to make sure that we are streamlined, that we are not, which is generally our practice anyway, but we are ultimately trying to make sure that we are completing the work of the people as quickly as possible. Just a summary of what we went over last time. The policy updates include kind of just that updates to reflect current practice, incorporating what our ADA consultant has recommended be incorporated into our policies to fully be compliant and reflect the current practice of ADA. We showed you those adjustments to the signing authority in connection with just to account for inflation. The biggest change is that adjustment to the temporary traffic control permitting, adding that requirement to the traffic control companies and making them directly responsible for how that's handled, as well as updating some of our stormwater best management practices are kind of the main takeaways for what the staff had originally prepared. Since we last visited last month, we've just made a few minor changes, did a little bit more cleanup, added, as we looked at the TTC policy, we made a few adjustments there, clarifying the end of day or work times when they should do that second check, as well as adjusting. Previously, they had to take a photo of every traffic control device every single time. Now we adjusted that to just be the ones that are out of compliance, so that it's a limited base. That database would get really big really fast. We did receive some comments today from Commissioner Nilsen. I have a copy of those and kind of the draft responses for each of you. Really just a few minor tweaks to based on those comments. I'll just go over these quickly, and Commissioner Nilsen, feel free to add any additional context if you wish. The first one was just a question because we allow for multiple vice presidents and we have had that in the past. The second was just a cross-reference request between two sections. Those two sections, one is addressed to the commission, one is addressed to staff. So I'm not sure that we necessarily need to do that cross-reference. The next is related to preparing findings and how those are adopted. That really complies with or affects the quasi-judicial actions that the commission takes, which are limited. I'll say that the commission has delegated a lot of that to staff in terms of development review and approvals, which do have findings already associated with those. But based on her recommendation, we're just adding a sentence that indicates that after findings, if findings are directed, we will bring them back for the commission for approval. The next is just adding a clarification on the adoption of ordinances to the section related to the different types of votes and how votes of the commission are made. The next is the 1007 was related to the different constituents that we typically work with. It's just kind of, it's more of an information type section. However, expanding that, we're expanding the section that talks about the public to also note neighborhood associations and homeowners associations to show how we work with them. The next was just a typo. We said natural origin instead of national origin. Got that fixed. There was a question about comp time, which we don't have a comp time policy currently. And then last was just related to professionals who have ethics trainings required as part of that, and just clarifying that language there.
Great suggestions.
So good items there. Other than that, commissioners, we didn't have any additional edits that were requested or that we looked at. Unless you have additional feedback you want to give us today. Otherwise, our plan would be to release this to the public in the very near future. Oh, okay.
Commissioner Nelson.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I just see in the PowerPoints, I can't see any faces or bodies, but what, you know, Ryan, the section I referenced was the compensatory time off. So I guess I'm just not clear if there is not comp time, what that section is talking about. Does that make sense? There was a section that if you are at ACHD events, I think it applied only to exempt employees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
my
Thank you
question,
for that clarification.
yeah.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
That is simply related to our exempt employees who are required to attend meetings,
Right.
like night commission meetings,
Mhm.
and that we have the authority to grant some additional PTO to them, and we give it as PTO.
Okay, perfect. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yep.
So, Director, just one thing, we'll be adding the discretionary function under the Idaho Tort Claim Act to those functions within our policy manual. And we'll be doing that Monday, but we avoid a lot of liability when we're acting in a discretionary function versus a mandatory function. And so we think it's important to distinguish that within our own policy manual.
So a couple minor additional
couple
cleanups,
additions.
just align with state code. So unless commissioners, you have other edits that you'd like to see, our plan is to open this up to the public for review and then come back for a public hearing on March 25th.
One comment, and it's not necessarily by way of criticism or anything, but when we increase the signing authority, I'm concerned that not enough stuff comes before the commission as it is. We've given over the years a lot of additional authorities to staff for a lot of good reasons. But at times I have felt anyway, like, wow, I wish I'd known about this, or I wish I'd seen this, and don't ever see it or even hear about it till well after it's done, and someone may have a comment or complaint or whatever else. So I'm a little concerned about stuff that takes away from our ability to know stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. It's a very valid point that you're making. The items that we can approve with those signing authorities are things that have been approved through the budget process, through review of the commission, through the 5-year plan and the budget. So we don't have freedom to just go sign additional things or things that are outside of what you've already given us funding to do. It's really just when a contract is ready to go, that we have the ability to say go without having to go through the process of preparing it for an agenda.
I think with inflation and changing costs, this is the way you described it to me too, the percentage means that a lot of really small contracts come to the commission where they would otherwise fall under the director's authority to be able to sign them.
One of the biggest problems is the delay, because you meet once a week and we've got stuff. And so a lot of that, since it is already budgeted, it's really to accelerate and not really slow down the process of us getting the work done. And that's one of the big issues.
Well, maybe, Madam President, maybe a couple examples would be helpful.
Yeah.
Like where you've seen that hang up, or are there like themes of these types of contracts?
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Give some context to the numbers.
Madam President, commissioners, within the last month, I think we brought something to you that was less than $10,000. That otherwise if I can approve up to $400,000 today, but I can't approve something that's $10,000, there's some weird things that are in there. In what we proposed, what the some of our larger contracts are getting, you know, for design or other things that we'd be ready to go. It may be just over the $400,000 mark. And so what we proposed is an increase to the initial contract signing, but any change orders, we didn't adjust those a great deal. So the change order approval still would need to primarily come back to the commission for large change orders. So it's just giving us a little bit more freedom to kick off a project that you've already approved.
And remember, the numbers, the authority levels are only on those items that the commission's already budgeted. So the authority doesn't go beyond. I think we can just go write checks and unless you've already approved the expenditure.
I will not do
That clarification is helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Well, we look forward to reviewing public comments and next steps on that. Commissioner Nelson, did you have anything, Beth?
Oh, I just wanted to express my appreciation to all the staff that pulled this together. As someone who's worked on the zoning code, this is a lot of work, a lot of tiny detail. And I just appreciate the effort. So thank you. And I know there's more to come, but.
Yeah, great. Agree. The staff's done a really great job going through this and making it more efficient and aligning it to our modern practices. So really appreciate the effort. And with that, that's all on for today's agenda, and we'll see everybody back next week.
What?